Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. You're listening to Newsflash. Here's what we got. Today, pipe bombs were sent to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the CNN offices, as well as many other prominent Democratic officials. We will tell you what this all means, what the reaction has been from Donald Trump and the brightest conservative minds in the country. This should be good. Take a look at everything you need to know, absolutely everything about the latest to do with the midterm elections. Also, according to a report, Donald Trump is still using his unsecured iPhone telephone to call his friends, and China and Russian spies are listening in. Probably the most Trumpian story ever to close out the day, in my opinion. Alright, we got a great show for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Spencer Walsh, and before we do anything, please be sure to check this out on iTunes. If you like it, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, of course. Thank you so much for listening. All right, today, pipe bombs were sent to several prominent Democrats, including former President Barack Obama and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Yeah, there is quite a full, long, extensive list from Washington to New York to Florida to Los Angeles. The authorities intercepted a wave of crudely built devices that were contained in manila envelopes. They all kind of look the same, so it was very likely, it's very logical to say that they were most likely sent by the same person, and it was all just one kind of coordinated effort by maybe some like right-wing crazy person, because again, they were all sent to left-wing people. In the center of Manhattan, Time Warner Center, an elegant office and shopping complex was evacuated because of a pipe bomb sent to CNN, which it has its New York offices there. It was addressed to John O'Brien, a critic of President Trump, who served at Obama's CIA director. And it was very interesting because it's very interesting because John Brennan works at MSNBC. He's not a contributor for CNN. He's a contributor for MSNBC, and the question is, why would they send it to CNN? And maybe they wanted to try and get CNN too. But it just, again, seems so crazy. It does, again, kind of seem crazy that they would know this, but again, it's really quite scary when you have all these people targeted with bombs, and especially after you get so much talk from the right wing, from Fox News, from top right-wing media people about how the left wing is a mob. There's no kind of order there. There's just mob violence. There's just craziness and crazy people all the time everywhere. And then you get this happening. Like, what in the world are they thinking? Like, never do they have the right to call the left wing a mob again. Like, just to have a little respect and acknowledgement of the facts. It's probably something that they won't do. They're still probably going to keep calling the left wing a mob. They're still probably going to keep hyping up the fact and pushing the falsehoods that the left wing is so violent. But there is one way to quickly counter that, and that's with yesterday's bombing attacks. And boy, it's been some pretty crazy stuff about this whole situation. And it just gives you the sense, like, you cannot let these people get away with this in any shape or form. Because, like, how are you going to call left-wing mob after there's been bombs in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations? We've had Hillary Clinton in Chappaqua, John Brennan and CNN in New York City, Katona, was where George Soros had this manila package. George Soros got it first. Eric Holder and Debbie Wasserman Schultz also got it in Sunrise, Florida. Maxine Waters got it in Washington and Los Angeles, these manila packages, and Barack Obama was targeted in Washington as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much where all the bombs were sent to. One law enforcement official said investigators were examining the possibility that they were hoax devices that were constructed to look like bombs but would not have exploded. But the FBI said the devices were similar to the one found on Monday at home of George Soros, of the billionaire philanthropist and liberal donor in the New York City suburb. So it looks like they kind of went all out. They kind of hit every kind of left-wing, bigwig location. And just all people, like pretty much the President Donald Trump enemies list Like, you got Maxine Waters, you got Barack Obama, you got Hillary Clinton, big one there, and of course George Soros and John Brennan. Like, John Brennan gets you really the sense that it was like a Trump thing, because Trump is really only a Republican president, like main Republican figure to come out actively against John Brennan, because like John Brennan was very critical of him, which is obviously an incredibly Trump thing to do, but still, it is incredible that this looks like some of these bombs have exploded in the way. It looks like some of those bombs did not explode. Like, but the thing is, what I really wonder is, like, could they have possibly been hoax devices? I just don't see how they could have possibly been hoax devices, because it just seems like if they were hoax devices, everyone would know, because the FBI would dismantle and say, "Oh yeah, this is a hoax. This is not true." Like, I don't get how it would take them that long, but I guess there's things I don't know about bomb deconstruction, and there certainly is. I don't know. I don't know a lot about bombs. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna put that out there. I do not know. Oopsie. I apologize. Okay. Yeah, I don't know a lot about bomb construction, but we're gonna just set off the theme to Red Alert there. My mistake. Yeah. Miss Clinton, Mr. Obama, Mr. Soros, and CNN have all figured prominently, those good folks, have all figured prominently in right-wing political attacks, many of which have been led by Mr. Trump. He is often referred to major news organizations as the enemy of the people, and really shown some contempt, in particular for CNN. Pretty much every conservative is like, oh, CNN's liberal, CNN's liberal, CNN's liberal, and that's pretty much the attack they get on the daily basis, pretty much. Trump, speaking at the White House on Wednesday, called the attempted bombings despicable acts and said, "In this times, we have to unify. We have to come together and send one very strong, unmistakable message that acts or threats of political violence of any kind have no place in the United States of America." Yeah, and that starts from the top. That starts from the president and all the way down. So stop ramping up this rhetoric and stop talking about people in this really kind of awful way. And that's how if you really want to unify the country, it starts with the president and no one else, because the president is in charge of this stuff. Like, it's on Donald Trump. And Trump is not looking very good. He called for unity for about like 5 minutes, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The media has also a responsibility to set a civil tone to stop the endless hostility and constant negative and oftentimes false attacks. Yeah, so he comes in, he blames the media, he attacks the media in his speech just after the media got a bomb sent to them. And probably the media he attacks most, the media group he attacks most, got a bomb sent to them. And yeah, he took aim at the news media, and that's just incredible to me. We'll get into his full remarks in a minute. So Jeff Zucker accused Trump of demonizing journalists. Mayor Bill de Blasio called the attempted bombings an effort to terrorize, which they absolutely were. They were an effort to terrorize. We're going to play that again. They were an effort to terrorize. Very, very important to realize. Clinton said, "It's troubling, isn't it, that again, to a crowd of 200 Democratic donors in Florida, said, it's troubling, isn't it? And it's a time of deep divisions, and we have to do everything to bring our country together." So, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, pretty much. W. Washington Schultz, Eric Holder, and Representative Maxine Waters, again, they were all targets. But the fifth advice, though, that was to Obama's Attorney General, Eric Holder, was incorrectly addressed because Wasserman Schultz's name on the return address was delivered to her district office in Florida, the FBI said. So it looks like the intended target was Eric Holder, but it was just mailed completely wrong. Yeah. So it was very weird. So, yeah, that's what we don't know really yet so far. All right, so we're now going to move on to the conservative response. We'll start at the top. And as Donald Trump walked down on the stage on Mosinee, Wisconsin, the crowd roared. They were obviously very excited. The president looked out on the hordes with his usual expression of smug satisfaction and thanked them for winning the state for him in 2016. Then the tone shifted. Trump's usually off the cuff and loose in his live performances, but this time he dryly recited a pre-written statement about the bomb threats made against prominent Democratic leaders today, as we all know, that we just discussed, with Clinton, Cuomo, was also a target. CNN, Obama's, Soros, all that. So my duty, as you know, as president, is to keep America safe. That's what we talk about. That's what we do. He said, according to CNN, the federal government is conducting an aggressive investigation, and we will find those responsible, and we will bring them to justice, hopefully very quickly. Any acts of or threats of political violence are an attack on our democracy itself. No nation can succeed that tolerates violence or threats of violence as a method of political intimidation, coercion, or control. We all know that such conduct, we can do it, it will happen. Talking about peace and harmony there. Trump says. Trump went on to add that we must stop treating political opponents as being morally defective, a pastime he has certainly never, ever engaged in. And hopefully he has the good sense to include himself there. Because, boy, has he been rough on his political opponents literally from the moment he stepped in politics. And that's him being rough. When the moment his campaign announcement speech, he called his opponents morally defective, and he called them racist, rapists. Not racist, but he called them rapists. Some I assume are good people, drug dealers. As I'm sure you know. Only a few moments before he went on as Republican Senate candidate Leah Vukmir spoke, the crowd chanted "Lock her up" at the mention of Trump's former opponent Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton was one of the Democrats who received a suspicious package in the mail today. What's the chant? Lock her up. Yeah, these are, like, if you think this is going to change anyone on the Republican side's minds, like, you are out of your mind, you're crazy, and that's not how they work. That's not how they function at all whatsoever. The president talked about divisiveness, and then he pivoted to condemning the media for their divisiveness just hours after the CNN headquarters was evacuated due to a bomb threat. Yes, it's really quite incredible. So, they got the lock her up chant, and Trump called for unity, as the crowd barely responded, seemingly unsure of whether they were supposed to cheer or boo threats against people this man has told them to despise and despise again. All he's done is say these people are awful, they're morally defective, they're crazy, they're power hungry, they're a left-wing angry mob, and then now he comes in and says, oh yeah, we have to have unity. What? Wait a minute. I doesn't track with what you told me before. I'm sorry. I don't get it. Yeah, he said, we're all behaving very well, Trump said of the crowd, sounding amused, perhaps referring to the many incidents of violence at his own rallies, incidents he often encouraged from the stage. He said, I'm being very nice. Yeah, if there's anyone most responsible for the divide in this country today, it's Donald Trump and the Republican Party, who has followed him in his reckless path as close as they possibly could. I mean, they've all been just dogs sniffing their owner with a bone, and that bone is racism, xenophobia, hatred of your political opponents, more divisiveness, and as he's running down that path, they've followed him as quickly as possible, jumping on his hems of his clothes, and really, yeah, they've just gone down they've gone down very enthusiastically, they've gone down that path. So Trump then continued on his regularly scheduled fear-mongering program of race baiting and just being awful and fear-mongering and race baiting, as I mentioned before. He talked about, you guessed it, the migrant caravan of Central American migrants who are currently making their way through Mexico on their way to seek asylum in the U.S. MS-13, building the wall, and other greatest hits. The show just pretty much went on. But of course, he had to get that platitude-filled statement out of the way, of course. And my favorite thing is he hammered the media for their divisiveness just hours after CNN had a bomb threat. That was pretty incredible. All right, now we go from Trump's response to the conservative response. Over the past 48 hours, improvised explosive devices, as we know, they've been mailed or hand-delivered to these prominent Democratic officials, right? And in spite of the fact all recipients who thus far have not been injured, again, by any of the attempted bombings, are frequent targets of President Donald Trump's attacks, and all the MAGA Judds hate him, and they hate George Soros, they hate Clinton, they hate Obama, all those people, they absolutely hate. And when I said Maxine Waters, that's just how you know. This is a Fox News watching, Trump supporting, right winger who sent these out. And again, as we know, leading the charge was the president's